President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Sen Murray Bruce, representing Bayelsa East. I've looked at the budget. It is no different from what has been presented to us in the last 4 years I have been in the Senate. I do not want to make any comments on the assumptions made because they are nothing but assumptions. I want to deal with issues that are very critical and important for Nigeria as we have become the headquarters for extreme poverty. Recurrent expenditure is 4 billion naira, 4 trillion naira. That is too high. If my colleagues can be quiet for a second, that would be nice. There are government agencies that were set up in 1960 that have no value in a modern economy. These agencies must be scrapped. These agencies do not provide any service to a country like Nigeria in the 21st century. They serve no purpose. They are in the budget. They consume resources meant for development. These agencies must be scrapped. You have 2 million civil servants consuming 45% of the recurrent expenditure of Nigeria. You cannot set up a company and 45% of the recurrent expenditure of salaries are spent for 2 million people. You have subsidy of 1.4 trillion naira, which is not in the budget. I don't understand how this will work. We acknowledge that 1.4 trillion naira is spent on subsidy, but it is not in the budget. I do not know what kind of voodoo accounting this is. But may I suggest and propose the following. Nigeria must deregulate immediately. You need to deregulate and save 1.4 trillion, which is not even in the budget, so that that money can be spent on infrastructural development. May I suggest the federal government embark on a mass transit policy, embark on immediate deregulation. I guarantee you, labor and the people will support the move. There will be no strikes, there will be no disruption in the economy, and we will have an additional 1.4 trillion naira to spend on development. And the cost for a mass transit policy will not exceed 200 billion naira. Now that makes a lot of sense, and I'm wondering why nobody is talking about deregulation, nobody is talking about the mass transit policy, and nobody's talking about 1.4 trillion naira that is being spent, and everybody's pretending that the money is not being spent. So really, those who prepared the budget need to go back to school. Now, railways. Right now, the Minister of Transport is embarking on a massive program of providing rail services in Nigeria, basically from funding it from money from China. I think it is a terrible policy. I think the entire project is overpriced, and I think the entire project should be scrapped. In place of it, we should go to Ajakuta Steel, get the tracks made there, and I guarantee you, if we contracted 10 companies to provide rail tracks in Nigeria, we will have each company with 6 kilometers of rail every year. I've spoken to the people at Ajakuta Steel. Using the deep sea port in Warri, we will have almost 1,000 kilometers of rail in Nigeria with Nigerian labor, employing almost 200,000 people, Nigerian steel, and in a short period of time, we will truly industrialize Nigeria. Mr. President, and I'm referring to President Muhammadu Buhari, it is important that when you choose your cabinet, you choose bright, intelligent people who can think outside the box. We have people like Senator Ashafa. He will be a great minister, smart, intelligent person, not the kind of people we have today who cannot think. If they were thinking, the budget will deal with issues like rail, where you can provide almost 1,000 kilometers of rail in the country with Nigerian labor, with Nigerian steel, with Nigerian services, providing jobs for Nigerians. That is what we expect from the Ministry of Budget and Planning and the Ministry of Finance. After all, we are Nigerians, we're not Chinese. We did not relocate to China. If I went to China, I couldn't get a job. So it makes no sense to bring all the Chinese people into Nigeria and make them make rail. We built rail in Nigeria 200 years ago. If we built rail 200 years ago by ourselves, why can't we build it today? I disagree with the whole policy. I disagree with Nigeria borrowing billions and billions from China. It makes no sense. Now let us deal with housing. The pension fund has $25 billion in the pension fund. We have a shortage of housing in Nigeria. I am proposing that we, from the private sector, build 500,000 houses in Nigeria every year. 500,000 houses in Nigeria, funded by the pension fund, guaranteed by the government. And the only loss you take is when you do not sell a house. It is a very simple process. The $25 billion in the pension fund is more than enough to fund rail, is more than enough to fund roads, and it's certainly more than enough to provide housing. Now, for the poor people to have houses in Nigeria, you need low interest, single-digit interest rates for poor people to buy houses. You have to understand, people invest, the pension you receive, 80% of Nigerians who receive pension will receive less than 1 million naira per person. That is certainly not enough for anybody to survive. But if that individual has access to a house from the 500,000 houses that can be built.
Senator Ben Bruce, round up.
Yeah, time up. Akpabio is looking for you. Time up. Time up.
It is important we have a mass housing policy. With the right incentives, we can create a demand for 10 million houses with a supply of 500,000 houses, a rail system, roads, and tracks, and we can make a big difference. And if these things apply towards the budget we have today, we can grow the economy, we can create jobs for our people. Already with these two projects, we created 7 million jobs. I want to be proactive and deal exactly with what the people need to get out of extreme poverty. Mr. President, they've cut my time. I'm unhappy because I'm giving an intellectual debate, and this prisoner of war is cutting off my time. And he fought in Nigerian Civil War. He was captured by the Biafrans. He was 6 months in prison, came back to Nigeria and was jailed again by the Nigerian forces. Now, so I ask the government to please pay attention to the details of the budget. It makes a big difference. We need to grow as I'm not able to.
Thank you, Senator Ben Bruce. Thank you so much for your contribution. Senator Samegu.